So I made an Instagram post talking about how offer optimization is extremely important. And then it occurred to me, majority of people don't even know what offer optimization is. Then I asked myself, why is that? And I realized, okay, well, how do I know what offer optimization is? And then I'm like, wait a minute. Offer optimization is gatekept by all the A players. Of course, people don't know what offer optimization is. So I realized I want to make that available to everybody. So that is what I'm going to walk you through today, how to create an offer that is truly irresistible, because nobody talks about it. And obviously there's a lot of stuff to go through, so let's get right into it. So offer optimization is one of the most asymmetrical leverage things that you can do, meaning for little effort, the most upside that you can possibly get for your business will come out of it. So most agency owners obsess over fulfillment, systems, hiring, and AI, and it's a complete misdirection. The real issue is your offer is just like everyone else's, and then you'll wonder why growth feels like pushing a boulder uphill. Your offer is not what you sell, it is not a risk reversal, it is not a guarantee, it is not your price, etc. Your offer is the foundation of everything. Your offer directly affects your outbound, your ads, your inbound, your pricing, your sales abilities, service delivery, retention, literally everything. And majority of your competition is focused on all of this nonsense. But the real players have mastered the foundation first. So I'm going to walk you through offer optimization step by step. And to show you how powerful this stuff is, one of our newer clients we just signed on asked to hop on a time or on a meeting to go over the offer. And I was like, yeah, sure, of course. And then a week later, they got a $9,500 paid in full. And then a few days later, they got their second close from a hybrid deal. And the ability to create offers is what determines your success for everybody. It's how we got our first 31K week. It's how this person closed 2 new clients in the past week, and they literally just started. It's how Robert went from no clients to 21.7K. It's how Daniel accidentally started closing clients. Josh was his first $5,000 clients. It's the same way that we have our calendars looking like this for ourselves and all of our reps. And also a really interesting thing is on your appointment booking systems, you'll see something like this. Like I get sent a lot of marketing reps junk. Yours was the best in years. That being said, we have a great marketing person that we're loyal to, blah, blah, blah. In the end, they say, I'm open to ideas and connecting you with our marketing director, Amy Miller. So this stuff is really important. I'm going to walk you through how offers actually work on a psychological level, why yours probably isn't landing, and what you have to do about it. And just a quick note, this isn't theory or high-level advice. This is the stuff that turns a 10% close rate into a 40% close rate and makes cold outreach actually convert. This is the stuff that most people find boring, and it's why most people fail. And quick note, if you find this stuff boring, then you have an issue other than your offer. If you can't sit through a 30-45 minute long video, you might want to fix that first before diving into this stuff, because this stuff is extremely important. This is the stuff that all the major players doing 6 to 8 figures a month gatekeep. And it's a single thing that takes agencies from 5K to 30K to 100K months within 30 to 90 days, because it's the most asymmetrical leverage thing that you could do. And I'm going to give it all for free. So the first thing we have to understand is the prospect gap. So this is where your prospect currently is, and this is where they want to be. And the bridge between this and the space between these 2 points is painful. And this is where your service comes in. Your service is the alleviation of this pain. And what's traded for the alleviation of pain is money, so that they can get to where they want to be. And this is a foundational law of human behavior. Every human decision is made to escape pain, and your service is the solution to that pain. So there's 2 different types of agency owners that approach the situation. Majority of agency owners talk about the bridge itself. Nobody cares. They don't care how they're going to get to the result as long as they just get to that result. This is why you'll see people talking about, oh, I do this, 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 and this. Stop. Nobody cares. All they care about is getting to their end result. And the agencies doing 5 to 7 figure months understand this. They talk about the destination because this is where the pain alleviation lives. So the question you have to ask yourself is, do I understand this gap better than my competitors? If the answer is no, then everything you do will sound exactly like everyone else and it will not work. And this is why stuff like this is possible. Or my client will say, for your encouragement to show me the amazing replies that they get from their emails. Most people tell you to F off when they get an email. And to reemphasize how important it is to understand this gap better than your competitors, we have a document that's over 50 pages long about a psychoanalysis of our target audience. And this document is built from 300 plus prospect interviews, 100 plus psychological condition points, thousands of research points, and then post-signing questions. So after we onboard a client, we ask them, why did you sign with us? There's a million people out there. there. Now, you're not going to be able to build this on the first day, but you can at least get started. And this is a very key point. Your offer isn't something that you build once. It's something that is iterated over years and years and years. So the first step to understanding how to build your offer is going to be the 6-phase emotional journey. People buy with emotions, and it always starts with a drive, which turns into a goal, which turns into a problem, which turns into pain, which turns into action, and they need a conviction to take that action. This is the journey they take every single time when making any decision. So let's understand what the heck this means. So drive is going to be the unconscious force. People don't wake up and decide to want something. They're wired for it. Status, security, freedom, recognition. You don't create drivers, they already exist. For example, if I come to the conclusion that I want a Lamborghini, I didn't start with I want a Lamborghini. I started with the fact that I want social improvement. I started with the fact that I want social status. That was my drive. And that drive turned into the goal of wanting a Lamborghini. This is the exact same thing that your client does. Your client wants to put food on the table. Your client wants to provide for their family better. And that emotional drive of freedom and security turns into their goal of being able to have better ads or being able to have better social media content because it makes them financially free. Which brings us to the next point, which is the goal. This is the conscious expression of that drive. I want to hit 50K a month. That goal came from a deeper drive that they probably can't articulate honestly. But when they want a goal, well, I can't have a Lamborghini, so then there's a problem. The problem is the barrier between them and the goal. For example, it's poor sales skills, no lead flow, bad positioning, whatever it is. This is where most people live mentally. And now that you have a problem, you are in pain. Pain is the emotional and physical response to the problem persisting. This materializes as things like stress, frustration, self-doubt, financial pressure, etc. Pain is what actually makes people make any decision. And then to alleviate this pain, people are pushed to the path of least resistance, which is action. Action is the decision to actually do something about the pain. This is the threshold moment. Most people never cross it without external stimulation. And then lastly, we need conviction that the action is actually going to alleviate said pain. Conviction will be their confidence that the specific action they're about to take will actually solve the problem. Because without conviction, everything dies. Why would I make any decision if I don't believe it's actually going to alleviate the pain? And that, my friend, brings us to the action threshold. The two factors of action and conviction are pain and confidence. You need both. If one has 100% pain but 0% confidence, they won't take action. And the same way, if one has 0% pain and 100% confidence, there's no reason to take action. The key is getting pain and confidence as close to 100% as possible. If somebody has 0% pain and 0% confidence, of course they wouldn't take any action. In this red zone, nobody will act here. In this light red zone, close to nobody will act here. In this light green zone, a good amount of people will act here. And then if you get above the 60% pain and confidence level, majority of people will act here. If somebody's in this dark green zone, you really have to mess up the sales call. Now, the interesting thing about this is you can also remove doubt and comfort, since pain is the lack of comfort and the confidence is the lack of doubt. Essentially, you can do the inverse of comfort and doubt, or the inverse of pain and confidence. And the lowest hanging fruit to achieve all of this is your offer. A well-positioned offer that is unique from the rest of the market can engineer almost everything you need for the action threshold. What this means is the offer alone can get you clients. And that is why this is so important, and this is why all the major players understand this. For all of this stuff to say, you're not creating pain, you're not manipulating anybody. You're exposing what's already there and giving them the confidence to actually do something about it. So how do we increase this pain? Well, we need to understand how pain works. And that brings us to the pain landscape. There are two categories of pain. We have subconscious pain, the pains that they can't easily articulate, and then we have the conscious pains. These are the pains that they definitely can't articulate. The first subconscious pain is going to be unmet basic needs. You can also look into Maslow's hierarchy of needs if you want to get really nerdy with this, but the basic premise is that they need security, status, belonging, self-worth. There's a few others if you really want to get deep. Other subconscious pains are things like desire discrepancy, also known as wanting what they don't have. This is the gap. This is the gap between where they are and where they want to be. Another example of subconscious pains is cognitive dissonance. In other words, having what they don't want, something like debt, a business that owns them, or a lifestyle that they absolutely hate. In simple terms, you can remember this by wanting what isn't had and having what isn't wanted. And take the first letters of those, and then you can remember them. For conscious pains, we have problems and consequences. Problems are the tangible barriers. For example, I can't get enough appointments, or I suck at sales. And then the consequences of those problems is what happens because those problems go unsolved. These are things like financial stress, stagnation, self-doubt, not being able to provide for the family. So how do we actually use this? So let's start with top of funnel. In your marketing and outreach, you always want to focus on the conscious pains, which are the problems and consequences. The reason is because this is what the people are already actively aware of and searching for solutions to. When they go to YouTube or they go to Instagram or when they're scrolling, we don't have time to go to their subconscious. We have to target the things that are already in their conscious. And then we move to middle/bottom of funnel. Subconscious pain is what amplifies urgency, but you have to be careful with it. You can't just tell somebody about their subconscious drive subscribers, their ego will reject it. Imagine if I told somebody, you just want more social status and I can get you more social status. They're gonna flip you off. The subconscious pain has to surface through questions and conversation, not statements. There's a specific way to bring subconscious pain to the surface during a sales conversation, but that's an entirely separate skill set. For your offer and your outreach, you want to stick to the conscious pains, which is the problems and consequences, but if you understand their subconscious pains, you can actually tweak your offer and your outreach in a way that still taps into them indirectly, and I'm going to show you how to do that later on. But before we do that, we have to understand what the heck an offer is. So that brings us to offer anatomy. For an offer, we have the basics and then we have the sauce, which is the latent conditions report where we get really nerdy and into the psychology space. But let's start with the basics. First, you need to define your outcome. What result are you promising? You have to be specific. Don't say broad things. Use numbers. Not we'll grow your business. That doesn't mean anything. Something like we'll book you 30 appointments every single month, or we'll get you 30K in additional monthly revenue in X amount of time. That is what something is tangible. I got a little bit ahead of myself, but the next thing you have to decide is the time frame. How long until they actually get the result? Is it 30 days? Is it 90 days? 180 days? The tighter the time frame, the absolute more compelling it's going to be. In fact, time frame is one of the best things, the best levers that you can pull to make your offer more compelling. If you have a competitor that's saying, I'm going to get the result in 90 days, if you could do the exact same thing that your competitor is doing and do it in a third of the time, you can charge more than double what he is charging. And this brings me to a really important point. Your offer should push you to provide better results. If you put a time frame or you put an outcome on your offer and you feel confident with it, you are not being ambitious enough. The next thing we have to define is your guarantee or risk reversal. What happens if you don't get them results? This is where most people play it safe and it absolutely kills them. A real guarantee puts your skin in the game. For example, we'll give you a full refund if we don't hit 30 appointments a month, or we'll work for free until you do. Or even better, we'll give you $1,000 for your time. Or imagine we'll give you $10,000 for wasting your time if we don't get you the results. If we go back to the action threshold, we are removing doubt by putting this in our offer. The time frame and outcome is directly targeting the alleviation of pain or giving them comfort. And you could even argue that all of these play into the confidence that they have that you can actually get their results. Next is going to be defining your secrets. This is your unique mechanism. And in other words, this is how you package what you do to the public. For example, if you know Brett Scales, he says we will do freelance brand scaling and I'm going to teach you how to do the business model better than anybody else. All freelance brand scaling really is social media marketing. That's it. But since he packaged it differently, the perceived value has increased. You have to define what does your method work when others haven't, because they've probably been scammed by another marketing agency in the past. Give it a name, make it feel proprietary. This creates curiosity and differentiates you from the commodity market. The next thing that so many people miss is exclusion. Who is this not for? The specificity builds confidence. We only work for med spas doing 6 figures in California is infinitely stronger than we help businesses grow. When you exclude people, the people who do fit feel like it's actually made for them. This is one of the easiest ways to increase perceived likelihood of achievement. You'll notice now there's alternatives to just stuffing testimonials in front of people. Now, the last thing you have to define is your pricing, and a lot of people get this wrong as well. Pricing is not just a number, it's how you structure the deal. Is it pay on results? Is it revenue share? Is it pay per appointment? Each model completely changes the perception. So that's the basics. Now, what is the sauce that I was talking about earlier? This is where we create something called the latent conditions report. So latent conditions is a psychological term. So the best way to explain this is that your niche is essentially built up of multiple people, but that person has an identity, and an identity of one person in a niche is fractal, meaning the identity of one person in the niche is going to be pretty similar to everybody else in a niche. Now, what this means is if we can reverse engineer the psychological conditions of one person, we can assume the psychological conditions of everybody, and we can use this data to improve our offer to then get more clients. This is truly how you make appointment booking systems and sales systems 10 times better. So you have a few different options. You can do at least 30 prospect interviews. Literally message a whole bunch of people on Instagram or LinkedIn, framing it as I am just getting into business. I would love to get on a call to learn more about what you're struggling so that I can create something that people actually want. Obviously, you're going to ask them, what is the biggest thing stopping in your business? But more importantly, you have to figure out personal questions. So what is their childhood like? What is the reason that they wanted to start this business? All of these things are super important to understand. But obviously, that is going to take you a ton of time, so there has to be another solution. The alternative to doing all these interviews is to use a market research software. For example, a software that will tell you that you have to pre-handle imposter syndrome with proof without promise positioning, and it gets you all the details about their latent conditions. Imagine a software that was already trained on all of this information that I'm telling you and built out this offer for you. Imagine if it took all the basics and then built out your basic offer, your short form messaging, your long form messaging. And then imagine if it did the research on the psychology psychology of your entire market and gave you an in-depth report. I'll be honest with you, unfortunately, we are not offering this to the public. This is for internal use only, and especially only for our clients. But if you want to shoot me a message on Instagram, I'll go ahead and whoever the first person is that messages me, I'll make you an offer for completely free, and I'll go ahead and do a free consulting call for you. Literally just search me up on Instagram and shoot me a DM. Now, the goal of all of this is to create 3 parts of our offer. Number 1 is going to be your short form message. This is 3 to 5 words known as your hook. Number 2 will be your long form message. This is a complete paragraph. This is the template that you're going to use to apply to the copy of your outreach and all of your ads. The last thing is going to be the full pitch of your offer. This is going to be used for the sales calls and explaining all the intricacies of what you offer. And we can add a third one on there, which is going to be your latent conditions report, which is honestly the most important part. That's going to take you a lot of time. Obviously, you're going to have to do that after you do 30 interviews, or just shoot me a DM on Instagram. So there's a last thing that is extremely important to understand about your offer, and this is known as the product-to-offer trade-off. The harder it is for you to build a great product, the easier client acquisition will become. The easier your product is to build, the harder client acquisition will be. Because if it was easy, everybody's doing it and it's completely saturated. If you take anything away from this video, I hope it's this right here. The pain in product development equals differentiation or barrier of entry, which means you have a bolder offer, which means you have higher confidence from your prospects. To put this in perspective, we have spent 18 months building what we're building right now. And that is why we have an offer that is so bold that we have too many people that want it and we can't serve all of them yet. That is the power of having a bold offer. That is the power of going through so much pain in product development that you create something that provides so much value and alleviation of pain to a market that it's inevitable that money comes your way. And this is why most people are stuck. This is why you see all the AI agencies completely freaking out about client acquisition. They chose the easy product and now they're fighting an uphill battle on client acquisition. The big perspective change is when you flip it. Go look at your offer right now. Run it through the anatomy, the outcome, time frame, guarantee, secret, exclusion, pricing, and more importantly, the latent conditions report. All of the psychology of your market. How many of those are actually dialed in? How many of them are generic? Draw out what is their childhood like? What are their cognitive biases? How deep do you go into all of that? That is going to be your starting point. Intelligence isn't the memorization of information. It's your ability to apply the information that you just learned. So if you watch this entire video and do nothing about it, then you're pretty stupid and it's not going to affect you at all. So right now, write down what your current offer is. Look at all this video. Hopefully you took notes on it and then actually do something about it and see what happens. If you learned something you didn't know before about offer optimization, leave a comment, shoot me a DM on Instagram or subscribe. If I gave you absolutely zero value on this video, definitely don't subscribe. But that is all I have for you. I can't stress how important your offer is because it will actually make everything so much easier for you. That's all I have for you. My name is Jesse Beltran, and I hope you have a wonderful day.